What's going on, everybody? Preacher Reads here, and I'm excited to talk to you today about Discovery by JAJ Minton, a new cosmic horror novel coming out soon that I was able to receive an early copy of. And so let's talk about it. Did this book accomplish what I hoped it would, and do I recommend it to you? Let's get started. All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about 5 reasons why I loved Discovery by JAJ Minton. At the end, I'm going to give a couple caveats, some things maybe to be looking out for that may give you some pause if you're deciding whether or not to read this book, but I loved it. This is going to be a gushing review in every possible way, and then hopefully you guys will be interested to pick it up and you can grab it before it releases soon. So let's get started. Number 1. I thought that JAJ Minton accomplished the goal of cosmic horror. The goal of cosmic horror is to force you to deal with this concept of a destructed worldview. The characters within the story come to terms with the fact that what they previously believed to be true about the world is no longer true, often because they come face to face with some cosmic being, some godlike creature, something bigger than themselves. And I thought that Discovery does an awesome job of engaging this concept, of forcing the reader to be in the shoes of the characters and consider just how they would feel if in the blink of an eye their worldview was destroyed and the world was bigger than they ever thought it was. And in response to that, they are smaller than they ever thought they were. The best cosmic horror causes this sense of existential dread, which should come by considering what would happen if your worldview was just demolished by some discovery or by some finding or by a being of supernatural origin just exposing his existence in the blink of an eye. And I thought that JAJ Minton, the authors, did such a fantastic job, not just of bringing this concept back into a modern novel, because cosmic horror isn't being done that often these days, but doing it in a way that was fresh and doing it in a way that really caused me to consider in a real world setting. This world feels like our world. It's set a little bit prior to our modern day, but this feels like our world. And because everything else seems so grounded in reality, the presence of this cosmic being causes us to feel what these characters are feeling, namely that their worldview has been destroyed like this. And I thought it was done extremely well. Number 2, I loved how JAJ Minton explored the social dynamic of the destruction of the worldview over the individual dynamic of the destruction of the worldview. In most cosmic horror, like a lot of Lovecraft or maybe The Fisherman by John Langan or Stephen King's Revival, it is mostly an engagement with an individual as their worldview is destroyed and how they respond to the presence of this cosmic being and how that changes their view of the world. But while there is individuals engaging with this story within Discovery, the real commentary, the real engagement is with social structures, is with the world, is with government and politics and religion. They pan out by using some multi-POVs, by using some different tactics within different sections in the novel to allow the reader to engage not just with how the main characters feel now that the world has been flipped upside down, but how the world would respond to that. We see religious institutions engaging with this uncovered truth. We see political climates change. We see social upheaval due to the fact that an entire world now has to deal with what has been found. Oftentimes in cosmic horror, it is 1 or 2 characters who find and deal with this cosmic reality. But in Discovery, it is everyone all at once. And I thought that JAJ Minton did such a good job of reasonably engaging how these different people groups, religions, political entities, and social structures would bend and warp and sometimes break in response to finding out that your worldview is wrong. In fact, you are infinitesimal in the grand scope of the actual universe and the beings that exist within it. And so I thought that this was such a fresh take on an old genre, and a take that was done in a way that caused me to ask some different questions. Not just how would this impact me, but how would this impact the structures around me? Number 3, I thought Discovery felt disjointed and chaotic, but in a good way. Hear me out. In the prologue, I was reading through, and my first thought was, man, this isn't going to be for everyone. It felt a lot like a spear cuts through water. As I was reading the prose, it was disjointed and chaotic and moving in a way that didn't feel very straightforward. And my first thought was, man, some people are going to read this expecting a very straightforward story, and instead they seem to be getting something very different. But lo and behold, very quickly, that prose shifts into a very straightforward, character-oriented story where the prose and the narration and the events are occurring in a way that more people are going to be able to engage with. But that prologue then made everything else feel so different, and I thought it was done in such a good way where just as I was expecting to get one thing, I was given another, and it made me appreciate just what was done in the prologue as the story unfurled. They were able to pull back and pull in and move left and move right in a way that felt chaotic, but that was the point. The entrance of this type of a being into the world's purview would cause this kind of chaos, and it was approached in the prose and in the choice of POV changes, in the choice of tone changes, and the choice of prose changes within prologues and chapters and different interludes and sections. And it felt like chaos, but in a good way. Number 4, the characters in Discovery don't feel like placeholders. Unfortunately, in a lot of cosmic horror novels, especially the classics, the characters can almost feel like nameless, faceless placeholders that just exist to allow the author to engage with this concept of the destruction of the worldview, engage with this concept of eldritch beings and the infinitesimal lack of importance that may exist within the purpose of humanity. And oftentimes what you end up having is characters that really just don't mean much, characters that really just don't have much personality. They exist to drive the plot to the point where you see this being or where you engage with this being. And Discovery flips that on its head and gives you some really cool and unique characters and very different characters within the different POVs. Like I said earlier, it's very chaotic. It jumps left, it jumps right, it jumps to different countries, different people groups, different age ranges, and all different kinds of people are engaging with this story. It almost feels like 5 small stories that end up weaving together. And I thought that this was done so well, but it allowed me time to engage real characters that were very unique, that had unique voices, that had unique concepts, unique ways of approaching this main problem that is the existence of this being. And I thought that it was done in a way where these characters didn't feel like placeholders who were serving the plot. These characters felt like real people who were really having to engage something, and the way that they were set up made sense with the way that they responded. And they all responded very differently. You could tell that the authors did their research on the different cultures that exist within these characters' worlds and how these characters would have felt about what happened given their religious background, given their social background, given their familial backgrounds. And I thought that it was such an interesting way to approach character work within a cosmic horror novel, to give these separate POVs and to really hyper focus on one character within each POV section, or maybe 2 characters within each POV section. And so you are focused in, the lens is drawn down really tight, but because you have 5 different sections, you find this group of characters that at the end of the day, you really get to spend a lot of time with, and they all feel distinct. And that is hard to find in cosmic horror. Number 5, in a world of this meets that, Discovery feels wholly unique. And this is what I mean. I was trying to describe this novel to a couple of my friends after I finished it, gushing about it, but not trying to give away much in it. And you're going to find in this video the same thing. I'm barely giving you any details. I'm not naming many names or talking about much plot because I want you to engage this very freshly. But the difficulty in that, and one of the reasons why this video took a couple weeks, is I wanted to approach it the right way. In many reviews, I can say, if you want to read this book, just make sure that you like this and that. This book feels like this book meets that book, or this author meets that author. And genuinely, Discovery doesn't have a very easy comparison. I can't just say this is Stephen King's Revival meets this, because the combination of the unique structure, the unique prose, the unique approach to engaging with the concept of cosmic horror is done in a way that it really didn't feel like much of a this meets that. It did not feel like just Lovecraft or just King or just Langan. It felt like a lot of different things put together, but in such a way that it was really hard to pick out what they were inspired by. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And if you know the authors and you know their stories, you know that it shouldn't be surprising that this book feels cinematic, but at the same time has dense sections that feel poetic and written by somebody with lots of years in literary fiction, but also seem to be written or acted by somebody who knows their way around the stage. It feels cinematic and at the same time feels almost like a play, but really does feel like great literature. And man, I'm telling you, I think the Discovery is going to be something that when you read it, you'll feel just like me. You're going to have a hard time giving it comparisons and saying, well, Discovery is this meets that. I think it is going to be very unique within the genre, especially within the niche of cosmic horror. And I hope that people will give it a shot and try it for themselves, because I think they're going to love it just as much as I did. Now, before we finish up the video, I do want to talk about one thing that I think people should recognize going into this novel so that they can know it for when they finish the novel. This is book one in a series. If you're a horror first reader, there's not a lot of big horror series. A lot of horror is standalone. And this book is going to feel, for most of it, like a traditional horror plot that you would expect to have a hard ending and you're done. But it is not a standalone. It is a series. It is going to continue, and it finishes like a series that is going to continue. In that fashion, it almost feels more like an epic fantasy, even though the story itself feels a lot like a standalone horror novel for most of its contents. And I loved that. I loved that feeling of I need more, but I could see where someone may be a little frustrated if they expect your typical ending to a standalone horror novel. This is a series, and this is just the beginning of what these authors are crafting for us. All right, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me as I gushed about this book. I loved it. I'm excited to get my hands on a physical copy, to buy a couple physical copies. We're going to be giving away at least one copy of Discovery on the channel once it is out, but you need to go ahead, pre-order it, grab it. I know it's going to be on Amazon. I believe at the time of this video, there's still a day or two to grab the pre-orders that are on the Discovery website. I'm going to put all of that in the description. Make sure you go to the Talking Story channel. That is the channel of the authors, JAJ Minton, and you can hear more about what they're doing with the book. You can hear more about what the book is about. But I'm going to be having them on the channel in mid-April, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm excited for you guys to get your hands on this book. It is genuinely a gem. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you would like to support the channel even more, make sure you like and subscribe. If you would like to consider being a part of our YouTube membership, that is open, and you can find more details about that below as well. Thank you guys so much to my current members. I'm going to scroll you guys' names right here. You guys are awesome, and you are helping me to be able to get more equipment. You guys are helping me to be able to accomplish more videos and to get my hands on more awesome books to review and talk about with you guys. Thank you guys so much. Go buy Discovery by JAJ Minton. Go subscribe to the Talking Story channel, which I know you already have, and I'll see you guys later.